As she collapsed on her knees, Kushina and Naruto resealed their swords, and two more girls, a blonde and a redhead, appeared. Yogao couldn't help but feel a pang of pain in her heart as she met Kushina's cold blue eyes. Did she not trust her even after all the time they spent together? Not even a bit.
She choked on her own words as she tried to speak. To her shock, she realized that tears were falling from her chocolate-brown eyes. Looking back at Kushina, she felt relief as she saw her mask cracking on seeing her friend cry. I was just here to deliver a message. A sob escaped her lips without meaning to. Kushina finally sighed as she moved next to her and picked her up. I'm sorry, Yugao-chan. You know we need to be careful in this village. Yugao smiled shyly as she tried to wipe her tears away, only to notice she couldn't move her arms. She looked at the now warm eyes of the crimson-haired Kunoichi and nodded. I know, after what the person you trusted most did to you and your family, I would be surprised if you could ever trust another completely. But it still hurts to see you like this, Kushina-sama.
As Nina noticed from their interaction that those two were obviously friends, she reopened Yugao's tenketsu with an almost inaudible sorry. Who is this, Kaya-chan?
Kushina smiled at her son warmly. A friend, you can trust her.
She discreetly made a few hand signs which Naruto immediately understood. Can be a spy, so be on guard. Don't disclose any secrets. Naruto gave no visible response, but Kushina knew he understood along with everyone but Yugao.
The Hokage asked me to tell you he requests your presence in his office. Kushina promptly nodded. Okay, we'll be there shortly. Sorry again for the rather hostile welcome, but you know it's within our rights to defend our clan grounds.
Yugao smiled at her. I understand, and don't worry, I won't tell anyone to save you some headache. The purple-haired girl looked around at them all, blushing a bit as her eyes fell upon Naruto. She had just realized that all of them were scantily clad. It was as if they had hurriedly put on the clothes before rushing to catch the intruder. That made so many scenarios pop up in Yugao's head about what they were probably doing before she came. A small bit of blood dribbled down her nose.
She shook her head before setting her hands for Shunshin no Jutsu. Before leaving, she spoke in a hopeful voice. I hope we can talk again soon, Kushina-sama. And in a swirl of leaves, she was gone. Naruto sighed. Sometimes he got so worried about his mother. Minato's betrayal had left her exceedingly paranoid. Except for her family, Kushina didn't trust anyone, not even slightly. It was painfully obvious Yugao cared about Kushina, but his mother assumed she was faking. There was nothing wrong with being careful for a ninja, but Naruto knew that sometimes you need to trust your friends, if only slightly.
He shook his head as he realized that his mother could be right. With people like Sandaime and Konoha, who knew how skilled some of them were in deception. Trusting any of them could cost them their lives.
Still, he didn't like seeing his mother feeling alone or insecure. Kasumi, Natsumi and Nina had noticed this as well and moved in on Kushina, who seemed a bit confused about why everyone was looking at her oddly.
What? Do I have something on my face? Naruto smiled softly at her and decided to not say anything about it to her. She was just being cautious, like they all should be. The blonde boy grinned at her as he answered her. Yeah, you have those delicious red lips I really like.
The redhead blushed a bit. Moving forward, he wrapped an arm around her waist and pulled her close before kissing her lips softly. Kushina closed her eyes in response, not the least bit surprised at his action. They had been acting like newlyweds for quite a while now.
Though she was a bit surprised when Naruto separated from her, and she was kissed by Nina and then Kasumi. And then to her shock, Natsumi stepped in front of her and wrapped her arms around her neck, before pulling herself up and giving her a soft peck on the lips. A bit dazed, she barely heard Naruto telling them to get ready to see what the Hokage was up to. She absent-mindedly nodded. As the others left to get dressed and prepared for fighting if needed, Kushina stood there with her mouth open. What just happened? Hokage Tower, Konoha. I'm assigning you an A-rank mission to Wave Country. You are to go back up, Team 7. 4 set of eyes widened in shock. Not because they didn't think they couldn't handle it, their reasons were all too different. Kasumi was worried if Amai was all right. Since Makoto was now coming with them, they only had Amai and Hinata left to act as spies in Konoha, and she didn't want one of their last 2 remaining spies to die. Naruto was worried if someone else was kicking Sasuke's ass. He had thought now that he was Sasuke's kind of sort of dad. That privilege belonged solely to him. Natsumi was worried about why the Sandaime would send a Genin team on an A-rank mission. He should send an Anbu squad or a Jonin team. Was he going to try something like that assassination attempt on her mother on their team assignment day again? Kushina couldn't believe Sarutobi was actually sending her team out of the village. She thought he didn't trust them to perhaps just run away once they are a safe distance from Konoha. Sure, she went outside for her S-rank missions, but Sarutobi knew she won't run away leaving her kids in Konoha, so he was safe. But now that she was going with all 3 of her kids, the only thing stopping them would be Nina. And Sarutobi didn't know how attached they were to her. So how could he know they won't just leave? Her eyes narrowed. He obviously has something else planned.
Akiri missing nin attacked Kakashi and his team. He thinks the situation needs more ninja. I want your team to provide him first aid, and if the situation calls for it, send a messenger and a medic team will be dispatched.
Oh, and be careful. Sarutobi gave Kushina a grandfatherly smile. His expression was so soft, trustworthy and comforting that they almost felt safe and comfortable despite knowing his real nature. Kushina was unnerved from Sarutobi's smile. He obviously had something planned for her. Is he going to try and get rid of me in this mission? Make haste now, you're dismissed.
As Team 11 left, a victorious smirk stretched across Sarutobi's face. Only 3 of you will come back from this mission. And all 3 of you will be loyal to Konoha like you always should have been. Minato would have been so ashamed of you for what you did with them, Kushina.
But no matter, I won't let you harm Minato's children, any more than you already have. They will be what he wanted them to be soon enough. Chuckling, he went back to the shivering pile of paperwork. He will have just to make sure Danzo got his hands on this mission's details, just to make sure no one gets suspicious of him when the news of Root killing Kushina got to them. Poor Danzo always was such a nifty little thing to set all blame on. Chapter end. Chapter 22. Apprehension. Uzumaki Compound, Konoha. Naruto felt his resolve crumble as Nina kept looking at him like a kicked puppy, and her shiny new violet eyes were not helping his case. You're going to leave me all alone. What will I do for the many long, long days that you're gone? The redhead's lips trembled as more moisture gathered in her eyes. And we just got to spend a single day together. Fair distance away from the two, Kushina and her daughters giggled at their clan sister's performance. They were carrying out the last-minute checks on their inventory before leaving. Kasumi elbowed her sister as she winked. You see, Natsumae, I was right. Nina-chan really did need to get laid. She sure has opened up since then. Natsumi couldn't help but agree with the redhead. Yeah, she seems much more comfortable around us now. I could never have imagined her doing something like that before. They smirked when they saw their blonde brother's resolve falter, as Nina continued to play kicked puppy with him. Suddenly, Natsumi's smile turned sad as an unpleasant thought struck her. He cares so much about us all. We're likely Narukun's only weakness.
Kasumi scowled as she grabbed her elder sister's shoulder. Don't say that, Oni-chan. We are Oni-chan's greatest strength, not weakness. We'll always be there to support him no matter what.
Soft smile formed on the golden-haired girl's face as her resolve to get stronger cemented itself in her mind. You're right. We'll always be there for him. Both girls silently vowed to never become a burden for their brother. They knew he was going to be highly targeted for his special abilities, and they swore to help him get through any obstacles he had to face. A few minutes later, their preparations were complete, and they were all set to go. Naruto was in his usual black and gray Ambu-style armor, which also contained all his weapons and other items in various storage seals embedded on it. The only exception was his sword that resided inside his summoning tattoo, ready for instant action whenever needed. Kushina was wearing a crimson cloak that completely covered her form from the neck down, underneath which she wore her Anbu armor. Her nickname, Whirlpool's Red Death, was inscribed in glowing orange kanji on her back. The large orange symbols were actually serving the purpose of hiding the reinforcement seals meant to prevent her cloak from getting shredded or seared by any weak attacks, making it a sort of armor as well. Her long red hair cascaded down past her waist, and she had her beautiful red sword strapped diagonally across her back, its handle protruding out of her cloak for easy access.
Kasumi wore an electric blue dress that accentuated her curves and stopped mid-thigh. Her phoenix pendant was visible as she did not bother tucking it inside her dress. Naruto was a bit surprised that his twin was wearing the pendant like that. She was always hesitant to use her phoenix form for some reason. Even he had yet to see it. Natsumi's attire consisted of a leather dress that hugged her body like a second skin. She had discarded any extra clothes like the white jacket she had been wearing. She now only had the leather skirt and top to cover herself with, leaving her toned belly exposed for the viewing pleasure of many. She also wore thigh-high leather stockings and black leather gloves that went a few inches past her elbow.
Natsumi almost jumped as she felt Kasumi pinch her butt. Oh, what was that for? The redhead smirked. You're looking too sexy, Wani-chan. Want to get raped on this mission or what? The blonde girl snorted. If anyone even thinks along those lines, Naru-kun will probably cut his balls off before mailing them to an Akimechi chef. Kasumi almost gagged at the image. The Akimechi chefs were always running low on raw meat and vegetables due to the rather large appetites of their clan. They never wasted free meat, no matter where it came from. She knew what would happen to the balls sent to them. Trying to push the rather revolting image out of her mind, she smirked. Anu-chan will probably be the first one to try.
Natsumi sputtered as she tried to think of a comeback. He would never. The redhead gave her a sly smile. If you say so, but I'm not so sure, Tilda.
Hoping to escape further interrogation, the blonde girl tried to shift her sister's attention to someone else. Did you look at Ka-chan? She's wearing nothing under the armor and the cloak. Granted, the armor covers up as much as a regular dress would. It's got to be uncomfortable.
Kasumi gaped, a bit stunned by the new revelation. Her eyes narrowed. I hope she's not going to try and seduce Oni-chan in the middle of the mission. She was the one who said that sex is off limits on missions as we need to keep our guard up. Nah, Natsumi-ne is probably making this up. She then marched off to her mother to confirm it. Kushina gasped as her daughter suddenly appeared in front of her and grabbed the crimson cloak she was wearing. She then slipped a hand through the cloak's opening through the center and then under the older girl's chest plate.
Kushina yelped in surprise as her daughter's cold hand brushed against her bare skin. What the fuck is she trying to start right before a mission?
Kasumi immediately pulled her hand out as if shocked. It's true. Oh lord, Oni-chan wasn't kidding.
She gazed at her mother with narrowed eyes as she chided her in a way-too-sweat voice. Ka-chan, why are you naked under the armor? You do know we're probably going to have to stay in the client's house for a few days, right? In addition, sleeping in the armor will hurt. Not to mention your own no sex on missions rule. Kushina sighed as she flipped her crimson hair in dismissal. Don't grope me without permission. Kasumi huffed in defense. I was just checking. Do you do this on every mission? Kushina twitched, a bit offended. Sochikoi tore off my last set of clothes 2 hours ago. I don't have any left now. In any case, the armor is more important to wear on a mission than the clothes. I have the cloak covering me up completely anyway. And I do have some sleeping clothes sealed in case we need them.
Yup, I have the scrolls right here. Natsumi called out cheerily, waving 2 cigarette-like things before she stuffed them back in the tiny scroll pockets of her top.
Kasumi's eye twitched. You expect Onui-chan to not do anything to us while we're sleeping in just our nightgowns. Kushina smirked. In the time Naruto had been staying with them, they had, to put it simply, spoiled him silly. If he wanted to have sex, he would do exactly that wherever and whenever he wants. If he wanted ramen, he was going to get it. It helps that Sachi-kan doesn't take too much advantage of that, otherwise we would have needed to stop it, but still.
At least she thought he never took too much advantage. Of course not, Kasumi-chan. I realize that he's going to fuck us anyway whatever way he likes, so why bother preparing for any other case? The safest way would be to have one of us keep watch while the other two let him do whatever he wants with them. That should be manageable, right?
And it would only hurt the mission if he is distracted due to sexual frustration. So, in a way, it is our responsibility to prevent that from happening. Nina was still a bit upset since she had to live alone for what could be a long time. Once the departing Uzumaki had made sure they were ready to leave, they exchanged a few hugs and kisses with the violet-eyed girl in the hopes of cheering her up, but that didn't seem to work well. Naruto groaned in exasperation. He didn't want to leave her with the mood all gloomy. Come on, Nina-chan, cheer up. It's not like we're leaving for forever. We'll be back in a few days at most, I promise. The pout remained on Nina's lips as she kept looking at them longingly. You promise? At Naruto's nod, Nina's mood considerably brightened, but she still looked rather sad. I'll miss you all. Naruto sighed as he ran a hand through his hair. That was when Hitomi gave him a foxy idea. A naughty smirk lit up his face as all his problems were answered with a single word. Tsukiyomi, goddess of the moon. Nina felt the world around her disappear into nothingness before she found herself in a red and black reality. A crimson moon shone in the red-black sky above, and the whole setup gave her a feeling of dread. Is this Naruto-kun's Tsukiyomi genjutsu? Such an impressive genjutsu. I couldn't even hope to break out of this. That's when everything began changing. The sky changed to midnight black with beautiful twinkling stars. The moon became pure white, and she found herself lying on a very soft and very large bed. A pair of powerful arms encircling her waist made her tense up. As she looked around, she was shocked to see it was her lover who was holding her. That was when she finally understood what exactly had happened. You don't mean to do what I think you want to, do you? The blonde boy grinned in response but did not answer her verbally. The redhead groaned as Naruto flipped her onto her stomach and his weight landed on top of her. She shivered as her lover's hot breath hit her skin as he hissed into her ear. Yes, and don't worry about how long we take. I control everything in the world of Tsukiyomi. This can go on as long as you want and more. Naruto inwardly winced a bit at the pain caused by using the Manchikyo technique. Nearly 10 seconds passed by in the real world, but Naruto knew Nina had felt all the days and days worth of pleasure he gave her. Kasumi looked nervously at her brother. She wasn't sure what he just did to her clan's sister, but whatever it was, she knew her Onodi-chan would never hurt anyone he considers to be a loved one. Nina was most definitely one of them, or the Jinsei Kizuna Fine would never have formed. What did you do to her, Onodi-chan? Naruto smirked at his twin as he made a shadow clone to carry Nina to her bed. Let's just say there are a lot more uses for that technique than just torture. I'm used to training much faster than normal, simply by casting the Tsukiyomi on a clone. As we are both dragged into the illusionary world, I'm able to train for days, in just a few seconds. The only limitation is due to the mental strain the technique puts on me. I can't do it more than 5-6 times a day. Kushina tilted her head with a smile. The pervert I know and love would do a lot more than just train Nina with a technique like that. Naruto looked at her with a grin full of merriment. I actually did train her in a sense, just not for fighting. She's now almost as experienced as you two when it comes to how to do certain things. Slap to Kasumi's ass was all the confirmation they needed to know just what kind of training he was talking about.
Kasumi's throat had gone dry at the implications of using that technique for those purposes. Days and days in a world controlled by Oni-chan. There won't be any rest during that time, no breaks, and we will be back in just seconds. Not to mention he can then cast it again.
She looked at her brother with anticipation and some fear evident on her face. For how long did you take her there? Mischief danced in Naruto's blue eyes as he looked at his twin in amusement. 7 days, I think. I'm not completely sure. Just stopped before any permanent damage could be done to her mental health. While pleasure overload isn't as bad as pain overload, too much of anything isn't good. Even now, it will probably take hours for her mind to catch up with reality, and for her to regain consciousness. The redhead almost fainted, but her brother held her up. Holy fuck, 7 days. Kushina coughed a bit before a frown formed on her face. As much as I hate to say this, Sachi-kun, don't do that kind of thing too frequently. It's okay from time to time, but don't make it a habit. Nina-chan is currently vulnerable until her mind copes up with the entire pleasure overload for a few hours. If someone got inside the compound somehow. Naruto visibly deflated as his mother reprimanded him, and Kushina's features softened as she looked at her son. Hey, I didn't mean to upset you. I know you only wanted to just cheer her up, but you went a little overboard. Let's just leave a few clones to take care of her, and it'll be fine. She ruffled his hair, though she had to reach up. At 5 feet 10 inches, her blonde boy was a clear 5 inches taller than her, 6 inches taller than Kasumi, 7 inches taller than Natsumi, and 4 inches taller than Nina.
You've grown so big, Sochi-kun. Her smile faded a bit, which almost went unnoticed by everyone. A part of her hated the fact that her son had left her when he was only 8, and when he returned she could no longer call him her little baby boy. He came back as a grown-up man who had no need for a mother. Naruto smiled back at his mother. Thinking back on it, I really do need to control myself. If it were anyone other than Ka-chan and Kasumi-chan, they probably never would have allowed me to go this far anyway. And I'm a shinobi, goddamn it.
Kibi growled from within his mindscape. You're also a half-demon, Naruto-kun. And demons don't have very good control over their instincts and emotions, often giving in to lust and anger. Controlling these emotions is something not even I have been able to accomplish. Remember that I ended up sealed in you and stripped off my power all because of an attack that was caused by blind rage. But don't mistake controlling your emotions with bottling them up. Naruto's face scrunched up in confusion. What do you mean, Kai-chan? I mean Hitomi-chan. Hitomi smiled. It's okay if you prefer Ki-chan. I don't dislike that nickname or my title. I was a curious little fox when I gave myself that name, Hitomi. While I like it, I think I like Ki-chan too, especially if you like it.
Naruto smiled sheepishly. I think I prefer Q-chan. It's nice and short, and for some reason I think it suits you. We can still refer to you as Hitomi in public so that no one has any idea of whom we're talking about. Anyway, what did you mean by the difference between controlling my emotions and bottling them up? Isn't it the same thing? To not let them take over you is the goal, right? The Fox Queen frowned. No, you're wrong. Let me give you an example. Say if someday Kasumi doesn't want to have sex, but you do, and you manage to bottle up your lust and prevent yourself from forcing it on her. But that pent-up frustration is still there. When you later reconcile with another one of your lovers, or maybe the next time you take Kasumi, you might end up hurting her because of this. Do you really want that? Now let's consider the case where you could control your emotions instead of simply bottling them up. Then you won't feel any lust at all unless you want to, and you won't get angry unless you let yourself be. Even after all the girls of your fantasies strip for you, you won't even get an erection unless you will it too. And you won't get angry even in the toughest situations.
Naruto gulped. That sounds hard, and I'm not sure I even want the not get an erection part. Hitomi, heaved an exasperated sigh. I said you won't get it unless you will it to, not that you won't get it at all. Oh, then it's okay. How do I do this? She felt herself quickly losing her temper. How the fuck am I supposed to know? I failed, remember? Shit! But you always know everything, her blonde container whined. Kibi rolled her eyes in annoyance. Come on, Naruto-kun, use that creativity of yours and think of something yourself. You're pretty damn good at making new jutsu, so I'm sure you can come up with some decent ideas on how to control your emotions. Meanwhile, Kushina was left in her own thoughts of how she didn't get enough time with Naruto in his childhood. She felt two soft hands on her shoulders and knew they were her daughters. They knew how she felt about it, but there wasn't anything that could be done now. Right. She breathed in deeply to calm herself. It was then that her voice turned cold as ice, making all three of her children go stiff in attention. They knew whatever she wanted to say was not arguable. I want you all to be careful and alert. We're going to use this opportunity of getting out of Konoha to its fullest. Do you remember the company that was trying to sell my daughter? All three of them nodded at their mother. They were a bit nervous upon witnessing Kushina as slightly angry. Usually the presence of her family was more than enough to calm her down. Apparently it wasn't the case this time. Gato's business is based in Wave Country. We're going to kill that bastard slowly and painfully. Do you understand? Kushina felt slightly relieved when they didn't hesitate before nodding. She had known that Naruto wouldn't mind, but Kasumi and Natsumi had yet to see anyone being tortured. Nevertheless, she couldn't let the man who was ready to sell her beautiful golden-haired girl to a life of slavery or some rich noble's plaything. She would make sure the bastard suffered before he died. Ka-chan, what about his company?
A devious smile formed on her face as she looked at her son. We're going to take it obviously. He might be a pig, but he's a rich pig. The money will help us a lot in rebuilding our home village. I have gathered up a lot through all the missions, but we still need more.
We can also work on building bases outside Konoha for various purposes. Be on your guard, though. I don't know what, but the old goat has something planned for us. I don't like it. Anything else you want to know? The three siblings shook their heads. Kushina smiled. Good. Let's move out then. Without another word, all four of them zoomed towards Wave Country at high speeds.
Nami no Kuni to Zuna's house.
Uchiha. Sasuke was silent as Team 7 arrived at the bridge builder's house. He followed the bridge builder and his worried daughter to an empty room, and carefully set the silver-haired man he was dragging on a futon. Normally, he wouldn't really care what happened to anyone else. He was an Avenger whose one and only goal was to get revenge on Aichai for disgracing the Uchiha clan. However, he had seen what the man that lay in front of him was capable of. A technique that could cut through a sword like what that monster of a man had could certainly be an invaluable asset for his quest. The raven-haired boy cursed himself for not having activated his Sharingan until now. If he had, he would have been able to copy the numerous high-level jutsu the two powerful ninja had been throwing at each other. What have I been doing all this time? Itachi had activated his Sharingan before I even learned how to walk properly, and he was an Anbu captain at 13. I'm 12 already. I'm supposed to be an Anbu, or at least a Jonin.
Amy groaned tiredly as she saw Sasuke start brooding again. She looked on sadly as Tazuna's daughter Tsunami tended to her sensei's wounds. She had already bandaged Sakura's head.
She wasn't sure if she could call the man her sensei, as he never taught her anything. No one ever did. She had to learn everything she had by herself, and who had the time for another no-name ninja, wannabe girl? She shook her head as she snapped out of her thoughts. Team 7 didn't need another brooder. Think happy thoughts. Ami? Happy thoughts? Sakura might just die. Tsunami wiped the sweat from her forehead as she stood up. We're so lucky. I'm somewhat skilled with herbs. Your sensei was poisoned. But don't worry. It was very weak. and will be gone in a few days. The girl, on the other hand, I'm afraid she might have some brain damage. Sasuke almost choked on the air he was breathing, but managed to calm himself down and maintain his character. Ami looked at the blue-haired woman curiously. That's impossible, Tsunami-san. As we can all see, her giant forehead is completely intact. It's as shiny as always and doesn't have a single scratch on it. Tsunami frowned as she looked at the girl in slight disappointment. She found it rather unpleasant that she cared so little about her teammate. Or maybe they have some bitter rivalry over that boy. He is rather handsome. Though he should probably not brood so much. It's bad for his mental health. He looks like a prick too, but I don't think girls as young as these would really notice or care. The blue-haired woman shrugged. She had other things to do, like cooking a somehow edible dinner out of the very, very limited supplies she had. It was harder than it sounds. She left to start her preparations for the experiment. Ami wasn't really worried too much about Sakura or Kakashi. She knew both of them were going to live.
Kakashi, because he was an elite Jonin, his kind usually only died in battle. If he lived through it, he will make it to another battle to die in. Sakura was going to live because Amy knew that thing was immortal. She had tried too many times to get rid of her already and it never worked.
She shook her head and tried to think of something else. A frown formed on her face as she recalled that on her way to the bridge builder's house, Tazuna had told them the country was poor. He was lying through his teeth. The country wasn't poor, it was positively destitute. People were living miserable and substandard lives. The food was atrocious, and worst of all, the people were pathetic. They had lost any hope and had accepted this as their fate.
The girl felt her stomach churn as the thought of being completely and utterly hopeless struck her. Kasumi-chan's family had to face an entire village's scorn, but they never bowed down like this. The strongest hidden village is certainly a more terrifying opponent than some slimy businessman with thugs.
Her face morphed into a scowl as she realized that the passiveness of the villagers had led them to this situation. If they had guts, they would never have let Gato gain enough control over their country to control their lives. Worst of all, they didn't even think about fighting back. They just didn't have that spark in their eyes. Her client was perhaps the only one who had even attempted to stand against Gato. His daughter looked rather brave, too. She didn't have that defeated look in her eyes like the other people in Nami no Kuni. She had probably been supporting her father against Gato as much as she could.
Amy briefly wondered who would arrive as the backup team Kakashi had called for, and what if it was Team Uzumaki? What would they think when they see people kneel down against obstacles much easier than their own?
She sweat dropped when the obvious answer struck her. They probably won't give a fuck. She shrugged. They had been through a lot, so the raven-haired girl didn't really blame them for it. In fact, she was rather happy to see them emerge from their obstacles as well as they had. That's right. They are so used to ignoring Konoha's glares and insults that they probably won't even notice how depressed people here are. For some reason, I want to help this place. They remind me of Kasumi-chan's family. Except for the fact that her family isn't so cowardly. An idea clicked in her head as she grinned. I just have to find some way to rekindle their courage. If they try as hard to survive as the Uzumaki, Gato will no longer be able to walk all over them. Now she just had to find someone who could do that, but that person had to be from Wave itself. Otherwise, the people of Nami no Kuni would always think that they needed outside help to solve their own problems. Tsunami-san might be able to do it, or maybe I can find someone else. Only time will tell. Border of High no Kuni. They were halfway to Wave Country when Naruto felt one of his clones dispelling as a warning, as he had instructed them to do so before he left. I need to stop for a while to let my brain absorb my clone's memory feedback properly. The three females stopped sprinting through the trees and jumped down into a clearing along with him. They formed a protective triangular formation around him as he sat down in a meditative position. He gave them an apologetic look. This will only take a few minutes, sorry. None of them gave him any verbal response. instead opting to give him a smile. They had to make sure no outside threats made their way to their lover while he was distracted. After he had been given enough time to prepare for the memory influx, the clones started their mass dispelling in quick succession, 10 at a time every 3 to 4 seconds. A few minutes passed by as not a single leaf moved. Naruto stood up a bit shakily due to the massive memory influx. The girls stepped towards him in concern. They were sure the memory feedback wasn't supposed to have that bad of an effect. Ana-chan, are you all right? Naruto nodded, still trying to regain his balance. Damn, that was a lot of information. Hitomi giggled at her container's expense. You should have known this was going to happen. All of your clones had been absorbing various plants and herbs through their Mokuton abilities for a long time now. All those complex structures and their analysis are bound to make up for a lot of stressful memories. He grudgingly admitted that the fox demoness had a point. He will have to keep that in mind from now on. Let's see if I can do this. Mokuton, Ringo, no key. The girls watched in awe as a huge tree sprang out in front of them, bearing the healthiest and tastiest looking apples any of them had ever laid their eyes on. They didn't even wait before rushing off and plucking out an apple each. Naruto watched in amusement as the girls savored the heavenly taste of apples he had made for them, using his chakra. Are they any good? He had to hide a grin of victory, as they didn't even respond, too lost in the taste of the delicious fruits. Kushina licked her lips as she finished her apple. By the kami, I have never even considered the possibility of any fruit tasting this awesome. He snickered to himself as his mother started collecting as many apples as she could. She was probably planning to seal them for later use. Meanwhile, his two sisters glomped him from each side, purring into his ear. Ana-chan, have I ever told you how much I love you? Kasumi mewed. Natsumi rubbed herself against him as she joined her sister in teasing their brother. I love you too, Naruto-kun.
The blonde boy chuckled, though he knew both of his sisters weren't really kidding. You know, if anyone saw us right now they'd never guess that we are actually on an A- rank mission. And you don't really need to collect all those apples, Ka-chan. I can make them for you whenever you feel like having some.
Kushina stopped dead in her tracks as she dropped her apples on the ground. She then started picking them up again, and sealed most of them into a scroll. Noticing Naruto's amused look, she glared at her son. That's no reason to waste them, and they do cost you some chakra to make. Just think about it when Uzusho Gakure is up and running. We could use this Naruto brand food as an attraction for people who want to move in. I mean, I know it doesn't sound like much, but the idea of having extremely delicious food does carry some weight.
She smirked. Food, sex, and money are all major attractions for people, even if they've had ninja training. Even we are not exceptions to this rule. We could just let anyone we want on our side have a taste of your fruits, as girls have enough sex appeal to allure those types as they don't know we're off limits for them, and I'm certain that we can make our resurrected village prosperous if we try hard enough.
Naruto rolled his eyes at his mother's theory. Ka-chan, the allies we gain from those means will be unreliable at best and traitorous at worst. They could be easily wooed away by some seducers from an enemy village, bribed with enough money, and worse still, betray us on their own accord for anyone who could provide them a better place than us. Kushina pouted, but conceded defeat as her son did have a point. They would need allies based on stronger foundations than that. But how else do you propose we gain allies then? The blonde smirked as he waved a hand in dismissal. There is no surefire way to convert enemies into allies, but I know for a fact that if we're careful enough with our words and actions, the task could be easily accomplished. Ichan didn't just teach me how to fight. She's called the Queen of Tricksters for a reason. Unknown location. Rin's bright brown eyes met Mito's pale blue orbs as they kept gazing at each other, both not knowing what the other was thinking. Why?
The Inuzuka raised an eyebrow at the Uzumaki girl. This had become more or less a routine in their meetings, so much that Rin wondered when the Uzumaki would finally give up. What do you mean, why?
Mito sighed as she looked at her tied-up arms and legs. Why do you behave like that around him, and then change into a completely different person when he's not there? Why do you even keep following him without question? Snort was all the response she got. Not that she expected anything more. The Uzumaki let a gentle smile cross her face. When he first brought you here, I was so sorry to see you. You were such a kind, gentle girl. What changed? The brown-haired girl snarled. Nothing changed. I just discovered my true self. Now stop pestering me. The redhead could not help but giggle. You're all I'm going to rape you, and I'm going to torture you when you're around him. Such a cruel, demented being. And when you're finally alone, you never touch a hair on my body. I won't tell anyone anything. I have nothing left. I just wanted to know why someone like you would follow someone like him around. The warmth left Rin's eyes as they became cold. Why are you asking me all this when you yourself had no reason to kill your husband other than your brother said so? People behave strangely around Arashi-sama, who's to say I'm not just one of them. Mito flinched as the guilt of her past actions came back to haunt her. She never truly understood what she was thinking when she had killed Hashirama. Hell, what was she thinking when she had seduced Madara, for that matter? That was so out of her character, that if someone had told her she would do it before she actually had, Mito would have laughed in their face.
I admit that him telling me about Hashirama planning to attack Uzushiogakure did make me angry, but it was still pretty out of character of me to simply kill him instead of making sure about it first.
Yet she had done it, and the strangest thing was, she did not once have a thought against it, that she should not do something like that at the time. Why? Did she really have the right to ask someone else for their reasons when she herself had none? No further answers came as Rin silently walked out of the chamber, forcing Mito to sigh in defeat and close her eyes. The brown-haired woman was not rough on her, but she certainly was very different from the kind-hearted girl she had seen years ago. Mito couldn't help but wonder what had changed her. Her eyes narrowed. What is it that you're after in Izuka, Rin?
Others may believe that she thought she had nothing to live for, but she still had made a vow to herself to avenge her family's betrayal someday. Perhaps on some level, Mito herself was a culprit, but the redhead knew that she was merely a pawn in her brother's plans. An important pawn, maybe, but a pawn nonetheless.
Arashi, I wonder if mother and father would have been ashamed of me for what I let you do. Even though it's against my consent, I'm still helping your cause by letting you have my bloodline. She thought grimly. But what do I have left to fight for other than revenge? As much as she would like to think otherwise, Mito knew that she was not an avenger. She just could not bring herself to become determined for the single-minded goal of killing someone. She needed another goal, something to look forward to in life other than just getting revenge on her brother. But she had nothing.